Hey everyone, I'm Markie Misc, and welcome back to my Quake Champions tutorial series for beginners. In this episode, I want to delve into the weapons of the game, their uses, and the general mindset when approaching weapon selection and usage. I'm not interested in padding the length of this video with exact DPS and rate of fire stats for every single weapon, because those are typically best felt and understood over time as you play. Instead, I'm going to focus more on when and when not to use specific weapons in certain situations, and to understand where each one fits into the overall meta of Quake. Since the game is still in early access, some of the weapons may see dramatic changes or reworks, and I'll do my best to keep the information I present as future-proofed as possible. Now, let's get into the weapon styles. The gunplay of Quake Champions is based around the holy trinity of weapons, those being the rocket launcher, lightning gun, and railgun. These three also represent the main weapon archetypes of the game, with the rocket launcher being a projectile weapon where you have to lead your shots, the lightning gun being a tracking weapon where sticking to your target deals the most damage over time, and the railgun being a sniper weapon with instant high damage but long reload time. All of the other weapons fall into these categories, like the shotgun technically being a close-range sniper weapon, the nail gun being a hybrid between projectile and tracking, and the Tribolt sort of being a funky mix of all three. I'd like to give a shout out to a YouTuber by the name of Rocket Jump Ninja, who I first saw explain the weapon archetypes this way. You're given the option between three starter weapons, which are weaker versions of their super counterparts. All three can be useful in different situations, but generally, the most versatile option is the starter machine gun, which has decent DPS and gives you an immediate long-range option upon spawning. Now let's take a closer look at the cast of weapons, as well as a few do's and don'ts that may be helpful. I'll be omitting the Tribolt from this video because in its current state, it's useless compared to even your starting weapons, and the developers have stated that it will be receiving a big rework. The machine guns are pretty simple, point and shoot, fully automatic weapons with spread. As you can see here, the spread can make it less effective at super long ranges, but the heavy machine gun has special characteristics when you zoom. When zoomed in, the rate of fire slows down, the spread narrows dramatically, and each bullet does 15 as opposed to 10, making it much more viable at long distances. These numbers may change with future updates, but this mechanic likely won't. Since you can start with a machine gun, it's a good long-range option if you don't have a railgun or know your opponent is super low health. The shotguns are interesting in the sense that their effectiveness varies depending on which champion you are facing. Against someone small like Slash, dealing damage effectively can be challenging, while bigger targets like Clutch get obliterated. Another thing is that the spread of either shotgun is always 100% consistent. You can see here that every pellet is landing in the same spot. This is pretty good, as it removes a random element that might make the game more about luck than skill. The nail gun should be seen as more of a defensive tool than an offensive weapon. Its projectiles are a little slower than its Quake 3 counterpart, the plasma gun, which I feel is an attempt to balance it more towards area denial as opposed to being a competent assault weapon. By spamming shots down long paths or busy sections, you can effectively stifle enemy movement through the region. Like here on Blood Covenant, when Anarchy tries to go through the portal to steal the quad. The starter nail gun does half the damage per shot of the super version, but it actually fires 33% faster, as seen here. Any weapons that cause splash damage can be used to boost yourself in jumps. Here, I do a circle jump, and then boost myself with the nail gun to clear the gap. The Tribolt can do the same, with a little trickier timing. Oh, and speaking of jumps, I can do bridge to rail now. The rocket launcher is pretty straightforward to operate. Try to shoot at the ground where your opponent will be to compensate for travel time. If you have a little bit of experience and luck, you can even go for mid-air direct hits. It can also be used to deny enemy entrance into a room by spamming it into a choke point. Do this if you know you're being chased. Avoid firing at people who have the high ground. That's usually the rocket launcher's biggest weakness, so don't try it. Keep in mind that full self-damage with the rocket launcher is about 50, and with quad multiplying that by 4, it would make it around 200. The lightning gun is a pixel-accurate tracking-based weapon, and is most useful in 3 scenarios. One is to punish enemies with predictable airborne movement, like Sorlag here on the bounce pad. Its high pushback can even pin people to the walls. I'll let Quake Pro Toxjc demonstrate this in a live game. 2 is with Quad. The ability to instantly change targets allows this gun to yield the most kills in the shortest amount of time. Lastly, it's great for finishing off softened enemies. The Railgun is a point-and-shoot sniper weapon with high instant damage but slow reload. It normally does 80 damage, but can hit for 90 if you allow it to charge while scoped. The slow reload makes it a pretty poor choice with Quad, since you can only kill people as fast as you can shoot. It's good to pull out the Railgun when you know you're going to look across a big distance. You never know if you'll have a shot lined up, and you miss every shot you don't take. Get a hang of your weapon bindings. By default, the rocket launcher, lightning gun, and railgun are bound to Q, E, and R respectively, while the rest of the guns are accessible with the 1 through 4 keys. Being able to react and switch to the proper weapon for the situation is one of the most important skills you can have. In the basic tutorial that's already in the game, try doing this bubble popping section as fast as possible to help get the weapon keys in your muscle memory. Blasting someone into the air with a rocket launcher and then finishing them off while they're still flying is one of the most satisfying things you can do in this game. Also, don't be afraid to pull out your gauntlet and circle strafe at your opponent. It's a lot more effective than you may think. You can open the doors on the map lockbox just by shooting at them. Same with the switches that open the acid floor in this room. That about covers it for the weapon overview. It's good to figure out which weapon is more your flavor. I know a lot of Counter-Strike players love the railgun, while others prefer getting up in your face with a shotgun or rocket launcher. Remember to pick the right weapon for the job, as opposed to using whichever one you have out. Let me know if any of this helped you in the comments, and catch me on Twitch if you have any other questions or you even want me to demonstrate something. I'm Markie Music, and remember to subscribe for more Quake Champions.